I've been asked to look at a really specific requirement for setting up vertical illuminance for some of our Dutch users. Hence, you will see that Lighting Reality is all being presented in Dutch. Being an English speaker, that's going to present a couple of challenges for me, but hopefully that may mean that I can operate a little more slowly. So before we go and set up a calculation, there's a couple of things I wanted just to talk about in relation to setting up Lighting Reality. Now, going back to the 2003 European standard, there was an option that we had in the program, which was specifically for some of our Dutch users, which allowed this option here to be utilized. And what that did is it brought in an additional requirement here for uniformity. And so as well as the average of 5, minimum of 1, it brought in a requirement for uniformity. And by selecting that option, it allowed you to add that additional requirement into the standard. Now, there's a second area that we did some work on last year in 2016, and that's this option here. And what that does is it brings in the requirements of a Dutch standard, which we call the ROVL. I think that stands for I'm not sure actually, but anyway, it brings in that requirement for the Dutch ROVL, so that when you select the 2015 Illuminance standard, there is an additional tick box over here that comes in to allow those requirements to be added to the requirements of the European standard. So for a P4, average of 5, minimum of 1, a maximum threshold increment of 30, provided that box there is ticked, and also we can bring in the requirements for vertical illuminance here based on what's written into that document, so as well as calculating energy as well. So there is a third way that we can go, and that's to utilize this box here. And what that does is it brings in the additional requirements for facial recognition here that were written into the 2015 EN13201 standard, but the requirement doesn't specifically say whether EV or ESC should be used, so we apply both of them. If I'm really honest, it's really difficult to find anything that actually achieves any sensible spacings, because it is really difficult to achieve. So anyway, so getting back to our vertical illuminance and the ROVL. Sorry, one last thing on this. If we go into the default options here, we can select this option here and this option here, so that every time you start Lighting Reality, it will automatically bring those requirements in. The option that's in this dialog box here will only affect the current file, so you can have drive on left or drive on right. You can change the default R table you want to use. We use C2 in the UK. You may use R2 or R3. And if you have a wet requirement for wet road surfaces, you can set that up as well as the optimised to metre or half metre intervals. And there's a couple of other things as well. So make any changes you want to there, select save and then close, and then that will then happen every time you run Lighting Reality. So I'm going to go with a total width of 11 meters, and I'm going to use a 3 meter left and right footway, and I'm going to have the column at the back of the footway and 0.75 as the outreach. Now, in terms of the way this is set up, broadly what we've got here is a 5 meter carriageway. We've got 3 meters from the curb edge to the back of the footpath. Now that could be a 3 meter footpath, it could be a 3 meter cycleway, it could be a 1 meter verge and then a 2 meter footpath, or a 1 meter verge, a 1 meter footpath and then a 1 meter grass verge. So it can be any makeup as you wish. All we want to know is where the curb edge is, where it changes from a road or the carriageway into the footway. So I've set all that up. the next thing I need to do is to go and choose my lantern. Now I'm going to use a really specific one because the guy who asked me to take a look at this asked me to look at a particular lantern, so I'm doing that. So we're going to use the Philips DigiStreet. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. And what I've done is I've taken the photometry and I've put it into my data set, which is unique to me, and I've organised the data in a couple of ways. There was about 5,000 photometry files, so I've split it by body size, and I've also got a separate area which is split by colour temperature for the two smaller body sizes. So if I go into here, you will see it will load all that data. There's about 600 files in this folder, so you will see it loads in those various options there. So now, in terms of the way that you want to drive the program to arrive at result, you may actually already know what the spacing is for the particular project. In which case, you can set the spacing up, and then literally just go down. And all I'm doing is I've clicked, and I'm using the wheel on the mouse to find a fitting that meets all the requirements. And when we have a fitting that works, you see here that this changes to say that the roadway is compliant with P4, and all of your various bits have gone green here, a bit like a traffic light system, whereas if we got a failure, then one of them goes red, and it's the roadway is non-compliant with P4. So that's a real simple way of doing it. Or alternatively, what we can do is we can optimize this, and we can obviously sort this data in any particular way by clicking on the top of each of these columns. So I can sort it by lumen package, I can sort it by file name, I can sort it by product information. Now this is actually quite useful because I'm expecting this DX70 lens to actually be the one that gives us the best result. Or you can sort it by the lamp name as well. So I can then go through and optimize the whole folder, and as you can see, it's produced some fairly good results, and it'll churn through some of the others ones. We're getting some fairly average results here for a single-sided arrangement to P4. And what you'll find in a minute is there'll suddenly be loads of X's appear. There we go, which basically means there's no solution for that particular lens setting. Some of them are returning 20-21 meters, which is sort of not very good, even with a low wattage LED fitting. And I'm just going to stop it there because I've already spotted a lens that I think is going to work. So I can then go back and I can sort this by lumen package, I can sort it by spacing, and I can sort it either high to low or low to high. I can sort it by power density if I wanted, or annual energy consumption indicator if you use those. But I suspect that in this case the spacing, and I would probably be looking at one of those two fittings there for this particular project. I like P4. I think it works really well as a class for a residential road, and either at 40 or 37 meters, or maybe even 42. Depends on how it actually worked out. Possibly the 37, it's a slightly lower 49 watt fitting. So I hope you found that useful. If you have any questions, please drop us an email to support@lightingreality.com. If you have a topic you want us to cover, please drop us an email to support@lightingreality.com, or you can tweet me direct on Twitter @NickSmith1246. Thank you very much.